Hi everyone. My name is Colin Gallagher, Fingal County Council, and as Richard mentioned, I'm currently the chair of the Eastern and Midlands region. I'm hoping to take a slightly different view, and the presentation is much more from a building control authority, who is the Market Surveillance Authority view. And as Mairead had said, you know, what gets measured gets done. And in a building control authority, we struggle to get resources to get things done, even just to get the building control stuff done. So getting market surveillance done on top of it is always going to be a big struggle for the building control authority. And I think, you know, the building control section has to compete against the other sections in the council, like the housing department, and that's, you know, in crisis. So that's going to always go on building control, has to compete against active travel. That's always going to go on building control. So it is a struggle for the building control department or the building control authority in each local authority to get resources. I'm going to talk about three things. So I'm just going to briefly look at the regional reps role. I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to look at, you know, construction products from a building control point of view, and I'm going to look at market surveillance from a building control point of view. The regional reps, I'm one of three. The country's divided into three, so we basically have the west, the east, and the south, to make it simple. At the moment, for the last 2 years, this month, I'm the regional rep for the Eastern and Midlands region. Paddy Mullins is the regional rep for the Northern and Western region. Paddy only became regional rep recently, took over from Pat Gaynor. And Tim Kelleher is the regional rep for the Southern region, but Tim at the last advisory meeting said that he was handing up the post and there's going to be a new regional rep from the Southern region. The regional rep, you know, there's three of them. We're here, you know, we meet and talk to the MBCO on a regular basis. So, you know, we're a conduit, you know, for complaints, for concerns, for issues. So use the regional reps. We attend 4 times a year, we attend advisory board meetings where we meet, you know, building standards, where we meet professionals from the construction industry, we meet builders from the construction industry, we meet a range of stakeholders. So it is a very important and valuable meeting. It happens 4 times a year, and it's a fantastic opportunity to bring up issues that building control authorities are having. CPR, construction product regulations, from a building control point of view. That's an explosion. It's not a building falling down because the blocks weren't right. As was mentioned already, the purpose of CPR is for the free movement of goods. Okay, we all get that, you know. So in this regard, how do you allow the free movement of goods? You have the hENs, not these type of hENs, but you have the hENs, which are harmonized technical standards. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. I hate acronyms, that's why I put definitions beside them. The AVCP is basically the method of ensuring that they meet a criteria. The notified body is, as we all know, there's various notified bodies. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And there's various levels of AVCP. So you go from 1+, which is the most stringent, to 4, which is the least stringent. So, you know, to me, I always thought the higher number would be more stringent, but 1+ is the most stringent. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Then CE marking is basically the CE mark. It's the passport, which allows products to be sold on the European market, and the DOPS, we've talked about them already. What is required? So basically, under CPR, everything should comply to a harmonized standard or a European technical assessment. So we're talking about that, okay? From a build, that's supply. Put it on the European market, sell it. That's what's required. From a building control point of view, okay, when it arrives on site, it's no longer supply. It's in use, okay? CPR is gone. So the product arrives on site, Part D of the building regulations take over. But CPR gives us incredible information, and it gives us other powers and other information, and gives us knowledge of what to ask for. So once the product arrives on site, the building regs take over. is the product fit for purpose? Ask for the DOP, you know. Even if it is CPR compliant, is it being used correctly? You know, does the DOP say it can be used in this manner? Who supplied the product? Where did the product come from? And, you know, if all else fails, under Part D, show us, prove that this product is compliant. And then in regards to Part D, which is a building control, one of the building control regs is the reg for materials and workmanship. Okay, so the materials must be fit for purpose. I generally take a hierarchical approach on this. So the first group, which are the thumbs up group generally, is, you know, it is CE marked, it complies with a harmonized standard. Happy days, they have a CE mark, they have a DOP. This product, we can see that this product is fit for purpose. Or it complies with an Irish standard. So we have, you know, an Irish standard there that shows that this is fit for purpose, or it has an Irish argument certificate. So it's gone through, you know, one of the notified bodies, or it's gone through, you know, a system approach for getting an Irish argument certificate. Sorry, that line's in the wrong place. Now, the other on this list are building control authorities have to deal with this, you know, when a product is there. They're, you know, they're not as acceptable. You want to be in the top part of that list. You want to have products that are CE marked. You certainly don't want to be going right down to the bottom of the list and saying, you know, well, the builder's a nice guy, so this product should be okay. And then there's the question mark. If it's a, you know, supposing it comes from the UK, it's BBA approved. It's not, you know, it's no longer recognized, you know. So it is a challenge on when you're on site, when it's on site, and when the building control or the building regulations apply. I know you've seen this before. Now I've just highlighted in red the key points. Okay, so the CE mark, we know what that is. Notified body number, brilliant. We know who the notified body is. Intended use. Now it's only a short paragraph on the CE mark, but it tells you what that product is going to be used for. And the harmonized standard, which harmonized standard this product has been signed for. I've never come across this, but just to be aware, you know, there is another stamp, Chinese export symbol. I have never come across it on site. And you can see the CE, they're closer together. So that's the difference when you see them. But I've never seen anyone on site actually try to use that to try and fool us that it is a CE mark product. Declaration of performance was mentioned earlier on. So the CE mark gives you limited information. The DOP gives you tons of information. It shows how this product complies. I actually got that off the web, and it was on a web page showing manufacturers how you go through the accreditation process. And this is in a Word document, and it tells them what to fill in the different sections. So there is tons of information out there on DOPs and what you need to do. The hENs, the harmonized standards, and you know, there's on the European site, on this website, and it's covered up unfortunately by the slide, there is a list of all the harmonized standards that are currently in existence. Okay, and you know, we shouldn't be afraid of the harmonized standards. Building control authorities would have seen these documents. They should be quite familiar with these documents. And if you go looking at these documents, take this one. This is probably, I consider this the most famous one, you know, SR 21 Annex E, you know, because of pyrite. Now I was in the thick of pyrite with Mairead when it hit. So this is, to me, this is the most famous, you know, hEN or national standard, you know. So it's called, you know, ISEN 3. I recognize it as SR 21 Annex E. When you open this document, you know, and you go to Annex E, it tells you more about it. Gives you more information on the document. Annex E was the Irish part of this. This makes it more Irish. And what was really interesting, if you go into the Annex E and you start looking down through it, this bit here, the T0 strut, the T1 strut, the T2 perm, the 3-3 blind, these are word for word what's in the building regulations, Part C. So this is a familiar document. This document should be very familiar. It looks and feels like a TGD, a technical guidance document. And then you go into it a bit further and you're wondering, you know, Annex E, what else is in the Annex E bit of it? And you look at this bit here, and I just blew it up a bit. Annex E, obviously, pyrite had such a dramatic effect on this country. Annex E basically means that for testing of this document, it's a 2+. So it went from a 4 to a 2+. So they want a more stringent testing regime because the impact that pyrite had on Ireland. So it is there. It's all this information is there. These documents look and feel like technical guidance documents, so we're not to be afraid of them. NANDO, and it's not the chicken place. NANDO is basically the list of notified bodies, and there's a good few notified bodies in Ireland now. We've gone a long way from before Brexit to after Brexit. Before Brexit, there was possibly only 1 or 2. Now we've quite a long list of notified bodies. This is something that we have in Fingal, and I'm sure a lot of building control authorities are doing. We are including CPR in the building control inspection. Like the guys are out there, they're doing their inspections. It's very easy to include this as part of their inspection and look for the CE. Is the product CE marked? Does the product look right? Is it being used in the right place? Is it fit for purpose? You know, I don't like the look of that product. Give me the details. Give me the DOP. So we start, you know, this is something that we're doing on every single inspection now. And it is where building control and market surveillance, or building control and CPR align really, really well. Now, CPR, Market Surveillance Authority, every building control authority is a market surveillance authority. And I suppose, let's be honest, the building control authorities have struggled with this dramatically. We just don't have the resources, and it has always been, you know, one that we want to do better. It's not measured. We don't have the resources, and it takes second place to building control, because at the end of the day, you know, the house or the building must be fit for purpose. It must stay up where, you know, and that's the struggle, and that is the battle. But to do this right, it should be resourced. And if it's a resource, the building control authorities will be able to do this right. So market surveillance, we've gone through this. We know what market surveillance is. What do local authorities do? What should local authorities do? I've tried to break this down into what we probably should be doing, what we have done in the past, like, for example, you know, I remember when the campaign was on insulation, and we had a person in our section who was struggling with building control. So we sent them out to go out to the builders providers, you know, ask them for their insulation, ask them, you know, for the documentation. And where does he go? He goes to Woody's. So the 16-year-old he was talking to in Woody's hadn't a clue what he was on about. And even when the manager came down to the floor, the manager hadn't a clue what he was talking about. You know, if we're doing inspections, and I agree with Mairead on this, you know, we need to risk rate them. Where are you going to inspect? You're going to inspect the places that are supplying the builders, not the places that are supplying DIY stuff for people doing home, you know, work around their home. What I tried to do here is just run through market surveillance and the different types, but give an example of maybe what we could do. So it mentions in the guidelines, it mentions active market surveillance, reactive. So I'll go through both of them, but you know, the difference is, in my mind, active is the market surveillance campaign is going to be such, we plan it, we do so many, you know, and we get them done. Reactive is where, you know, we get a complaint in, you know, and the product was either supplied from Fingal area or whichever council is dealing with, or manufactured in that area. Dunera down handed me, you know, one about fireplaces there a couple of years ago, and it was a nightmare to try and deal with. But, you know, it was a complaint and we had to deal with it. I have to owe them back for that one. We have quite strong enforcement powers, you know, and I'll go into these in a bit more detail, but we have quite substantial enforcement powers, surprisingly so. How do we proceed? How would a council proceed with market surveillance? Call a friend? Well, I'd be ringing Pat Gaynor, Cavan County Council, because he dealt with probably one of the bigger market surveillance things in the last few years. But, you know, what do we do? Well, we now have the MBCO MSA, and, you know, I've had a few market surveillance issues last year and the previous year, and they've been immensely helpful, not only in, you know, assisting in inspections, but also in what notice should I send out? You know, how do I move this forward? How do I close it off? Immensely helpful. There is other sources out there. As Mairead said, the guidelines for market surveillance authorities is currently being updated. The existing guidance is very good. It is really, really good. You know, it's once you just have to flick through it and get familiar with it. There is sections in it that are even, you know, there is concise sections in it which really do help. This other one I brought up as well, and it's in the European Commission one, and it's like a ladybird version of CE marking. So I highly recommend that. It's short and it's all colors, and I love colors. So yeah, I highly recommend that. It's a really easy way to make your way through CE marking and what's required. So what would a local authority do? This is what, from reading the guidelines, this is what I think local authorities should be doing. So if a problem exists now, whether it's active, where we've come to it, you know, we're doing active market surveillance and we've contacted a manufacturer and we think there's a problem, or whether it's reactive, if a problem exists, first step, you know, ask for the information, you know, and possibly ask nicely, you know, send them a letter, send them an email, tell them we want this, and give them 2 weeks to do it. And if they don't respond in 2 weeks, Section 12.3 gives us the power to ask for that information. Very like Section 11 of the Building Control Act. We can ask them, we can send them a notice telling them to give us the information. So we get the information, still not happy. We carry out an inspection, okay? We have quite extensive rights of entry, bar we can't go into a private dwelling. Everything else we have rights of entry on. We have quite powerful rights of entry. We have very similar powers that you would have for a building control authority. So it lines up really nicely with the building control regulations. We can take a sample. We can be accompanied by experts. So, you know, we can bring someone from the MBCO with us. We can take equipment, we can take photos. You know, there is a little catch-all there at the end. We are expected to take reasonable measures to guarantee confidentiality. And that is, you know, what does that mean, you know? But I presume, you know, anything that could put the company's name at risk until, you know, we have the issue solved. And that's, you know, but it is something that's not in the building control regulations. So it is something that is particular to construction product regulations. Step 3, you know, we took the sample, there is an issue. We tell them to fix it. It's as simple as that, you know. We can direct them, Regulation 12.5, we can direct them to fix it. And there is sample notices given in the guidelines. So we can just direct them to fix it. And the notice is a Section 14.1, notice to take corrective action, okay? So it is quite straightforward. So this is like Section 8 of, you know, the building control reg. So we're just telling them, we found a problem, we know there's a problem, we've tested it or whatever. We want you to take corrective action and make this product conform, okay? And if they don't, this is the nuclear option, you know, we write to the minister, and we have the power to write to the minister. Now, obviously, I will be doing that in conjunction with the MBCO, MSA, but we can write to the minister and ask him or her to direct the economic operator to rectify the issue that's causing the non-compliance. So there is reasonable powers there. They're very stepped. They're very similar to the building control powers. So it does line up really nicely. And I think because of that, you know, there is a certain amount of similarity to building control, which is nice. So if we are resourced properly, I think building control is quite a nice fit, obviously with the assistance of the MBCO. I got this online actually, and it was just a picture, and I thought it was quite nice because it steps it out in a really easy way, and it's just in simple English telling, you know, a manufacturer what you need to do to get CE marked. Okay, so you have to find the HEN, the Harmonised European norm, or obviously you could do it through an ETA instead. Then you review the essential characteristics. And then you find out what type of a control system, the AVCP. So is it just factory production control, or is it, you know, which would be a 4, or is it much more? Are we going right down to 1+, which is a lot of involvement from the notified body? And then you complete the declaration performance and attach the CE marking. So I thought it was quite nice. It's in one little picture and it just makes it quite easy to read. The last thing I was going to touch on was RAPEX. Now, we used to get the building control authorities or the market surveillance authorities used to get these emails on a regular basis, and unfortunately it was all of the RAPEX. So you had to scroll down through all the children's toys, and then you scroll down through all the clothes, and you eventually do find the website itself actually has a filter. So, you know, if we get a warning, or if we, you know, if we get notified that there's a construction product on the RAPEX list, you can go straight into the website, you can filter down construction products, and then you're just looking at the construction products, which is so much easier than scrolling down through all the kids' toys. And my goodness, the kids' toys seem to be deadly. And that's it. It's a whistle-stop tour of how I think the region is doing it or could do it better. At the moment, like I said, the building control authorities are doing our best, but we're struggling just with building control. The idea that we can integrate some of this, we can integrate CPR into our day-to-day job as much as we can, but to give it what it needs, you know, we need the resources to be able to do it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Colin. There, we're going to just ask the speakers this morning to come up here, and then we're going to have a Q&A section for